Hey, Dr. Alter, your Delray Beach chiropractor. People all the time want to try to understand what's really going on with arthritis in the spine. That people hear all the time, I have arthritis in the spine, I have degenerative joint disease, or degenerative disc disease, or even stenosis, which is a narrowing. So I want to explain to you what's really happening, what causes it, and what you can do to prevent it. Okay, so here is our spine, okay? Two vertebrae and a disc. And if you look close up, you've got a vertebrae, you've got a disc, you've got another vertebrae, and you have a nerve. And you have this hole here where the nerve comes out. The key is that hole. The nerve is coming out through a hole, and we want the most amount of space there. And what can happen is this vertebrae can shift and start to get stuck right here. Instead of being up on top of that disc, it can start to shift back and get stuck and wind up being fixated and not mobile and not move correctly, like a hinge on a door that's not lined up properly. And when that happens, there's something called imbibition, where the vertebrae pumps like this. This is what happens with a good spine. That disc is getting pumped. And when the vertebrae shifts back and gets stuck, that pumping slows down or stops. And it starts the degenerative process. It starts the breakdown of the spine. It starts the wear and tear and the arthritis. It would be similar to having a piece of food caught in your tooth, and it starts to kind of create a cavity. And what it will look like is the vertebrae will wind up like this over time. And you can see all this new bone, these big spurs all chewed up. The disc is collapsed and crushed. That hole where the nerve comes out is really jammed up and pinched, and we wind up with a big giant mess. So that is degenerative joint disease, degenerative disc disease, arthritis of the spine. And why did that happen? It happened from a mechanical problem. The vertebrae shifted and got stuck. So what do you do about that? How do you stop that? Well, the chiropractic adjustment, the whole purpose of the chiropractic adjustment is to take the vertebrae from here and work this vertebrae forward and flush so the nerve is open. But in this context, what we're talking about, to get the vertebrae back on there so this pumping action is restored and it stops and arrests the breakdown and degenerative process. We also have what's called spinal decompression, which will pull the vertebrae apart, again, trying to restore normal mechanics and get that vertebrae and that disc pumping to prevent the arthritic process. So there's a mechanical thing that goes on that needs to be corrected mechanically to stop or arrest the process. Okay, it's best to start taking care of your spine when you're young, because once it winds up a big mess, you can't go backwards. You can slow it down, but you can't reverse it. So we want to keep the spine good. And how do you do that? Well, with good chiropractic care along with spinal decompression. Here in Delray, we offer both. We want to be a resource. We're here to help and make sure that everyone in this area understands what they can do to keep themselves in as good shape possible. And we want to make sure that you're always feeling your best.